Good afternoon. Happy Monday after Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a great holiday. I hope everyone, even though it may have been a little different this year, I hope that you were able to be safe, meet with family, whether in person or virtually, and enjoy some downtime and some time for reflection and all of those things that you are definitely thankful and grateful for. Happy Monday, Money Matters. My name is Lisa Terry with Financial Pathways of the Piedmont. And so we know that 2020 has been bizarre, to say the least. There's probably a lot of other select words we could use to describe it, but we'll just leave it with bizarre. And regardless of, a pandemic or any other type of financial hardship that may occur, we should never lose sight of future financial goals. It may be cliche, and a lot of people do utilize the new year for new programs, new you, weight loss, financial goals, personal health goals, family goals, things of that nature. But I think that it still can resonate and be effective as well. So, what are your financial goals for 2021? Have you considered or thought about what those financial goals are or could be? And again, it doesn't have to be some big, huge, lofty goal. It can be very simple. It can be small. You could have several small goals. You could have a large goal. But whatever those are, really think about those in terms of goals that are achievable. When you think about money goals, they are no different than any other type of goal, like weight loss or anything else. So if there are goals that you have achieved before, kind of using that same mindset or that same attitude towards reaching those goals, how did you reach or attain those goals before? They basically will help you guide your decisions and give you something to work towards. You should be in constant pursuit of always achieving some sort of goal. And once you've achieved that one goal or one goal, what's the next goal? Is there an addendum to that goal? If you've reached that goal, can you push it a little bit further, or is there just a separate or a second goal that you can then go to? So setting specific and clear financial goals will help you achieve them, even if you hit bumps along the road, along the way, because they're inevitable. Anytime you try to, at least with my experience, anytime you try to kind of like hone in and change some behaviors, especially around spending, Murphy's Law, what will happen will, and it never fails. You start really on a good plan of saving, and bam, the car breaks down, or you end up with a flat tire, or something totally unexpected is thrown your way, and now you have to use that money that maybe you worked so hard to save up, but you had it. Now think about if you didn't have it before. So when you are thinking about setting specific and clear financial goals, think of goals in three different ways, three different types of goals: short term, mid-term, long term. Now, probably in lots of things that you can read and see and pull up online, a lot of different financial advisors, gurus, etc., and whatnot may have their short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals broken down into different time increments. But for the sake of today's Monday Money Matters, we're going to think about short-term goals, the time span that you would be able to accomplish within a 12-month period. So if you start at January 1, then hopefully by the end of 2021, you will have at least achieved those short-term goals. But you don't have to necessarily wait till January 1 either. You can get started immediately. Then when you think about midterm goals, that's going to be anything that's going to be between 1 and 3 years. And then long-term goals, obviously 3 years and beyond. And you may even want to break it down into even further increments. The old question, where would you like to be within 5 years? Those are still some of the same questions you can ask yourself when you're thinking about your financial goals. So short term could be that an example is, I want to be able to increase my savings by the end of the year by an additional $1,000. So that means, that is my targeted amount and that is my goal. A midterm goal, a 1 to 3 year, could be that you're wanting to save that money because you need to buy, or you would like to buy, a nicer used car. And then maybe that long-term goal is becoming a homeowner. So there's a couple of different examples of, but it can be even simpler than that. I know that for myself, years ago, one of my goals literally was to pay my Duke Power on time every month, so that when I was ready to move, I wouldn't have to worry about any kind of deposits, um, you know, anything like that. And you kind of get the ability of perks per se, when you pay your bills on time. And that also allowed me to sign up for an equal payment plan years ago, because that was one of the requirements, that in order for you to do that, you had to at least pay your bill on time for 12 months. So that was one of my goals. There was a set goal. I knew that I needed to pay my bill on time every month for 12 months. And then my end result was going to be that I was going to be able to get on an equal payment plan, so that would help me budget my monthly income better. So what questions will you answer when you are thinking about your financial goals? Where will I be financially in 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years? To start, what is your financial plan? Create your financial plan. How do you plan to reach that goal? Be very specific. We can't just say I want to be successful and I want to, pay all my bills on time. You have to be very specific and really pinpoint a specific goal. There's going to be lots of little goals that are going to build up to that be successful, because successful to you is going to be different to someone else. So you have to be very specific in what your goals are. Definitely want to continue to save for emergencies along the way, because if the pandemic hasn't taught us anything, it has definitely taught us that if you had savings, although it may not have been enough to cover 8 months worth, savings has probably gotten a lot of people through some of these hard times. Sticking to a budget, that right there is your foundational piece to goal setting, especially around financial goals. You're not going to be able to really put a realistic plan in place until you really know where you are right now. As of November the 30th, 2020, my budget looks like this. So that means if I want to achieve certain financial goals in the next year, I'm going to have to tweak or change some of those things so that I can save that extra money to increase my savings, or to save that extra money to go towards a down payment for a car, or to save that extra money to go on a vacation, whatever those financial goals may be. Paying off debt, obviously, if you have less debt to pay on, then you have more cash flow to go to reaching your goals. So maybe once that car is paid off, now you take that car payment that you were paying every month, put that towards one of your or two of your financial goals, increasing your savings, paying down another debt, recycling that amount that you've been using every month paying on that car, and putting it towards something else. And that, from experience, you have to be very, very direct in doing that, and doing it immediately, because quickly it will just get absorbed back into your budget, and 6 months down the road you won't even be able to understand how in the world you were paying a $250 car payment, because you don't even feel like you have the $250 left, although you were paying a car payment just 6 months ago. So really being very direct, and the word that I want to use has totally slipped my mind, that you want to make sure that you plan it, that if my car payment's going to end November, December, I'm still going to use that car payment to go towards my next financial goal. Thinking about retirement, I know I am older this year, and sorry, the sun is in my face, and I know that I am really thinking of retirement for one of my long-term goals. And so even though I do participate in the agency, what the nonprofit version is of a 401k, they say that you should always still save more than that, because you never know what you may need, and what will still be available with regards to Social Security. So thinking about retirement, surely you want to retire one day. I know I do. So thinking about, and it's never, never too early to start thinking about retirement. And actually, the younger you are, the more you start saving now, the much better off you will be when you get into your 60s or whatever retirement age will be by then. So it's definitely something, and diversify your different saving strategies around retirement as well. Education, thinking about education as an integral part to planning around your financial goals, whether that's for your own education or for children. Those things also need to be taken into consideration when you're thinking about what your financial goals are. And again, for children, it's never too early to start planning for your children's education. Whether it's hopefully great academics and being able to get scholarships and grants, or sports, or just finding ways that you can pay for college without having to take out large amounts of debt. So setting money goals, it's more than just a list of things. I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car, I want to increase my savings. It's more than just a list. It's more than just that. You have to really, really think about the details around achieving those things on that list. So if you've never heard of SMART goals, well, today's the day. SMART goals, SMART, stands for something: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So anytime you have a goal in mind, plan it out based on SMART, SMART. Specific, so again, an example, I want to be able to save $1,000 into my savings. I want to increase it this year. Measurable, I know that after I have looked at my budget on paper, and if I stick to my budget, that I should be able to afford X amount of dollars every pay period to go towards my savings goal. Attainable, is this something that you can definitely do? And it may be that with some persistence, some consistency, changing some spending behaviors, maybe cutting back on my Dunkin' Donuts spree every morning, and closing some of those spending leaks, that it may help me attain that. But yes, it is definitely doable. I have the ability to do so. Realistic. Is the amount per pay period going to be realistic so that it is not cutting into my other obligations? We want to always make sure that our housing is paid for, our food, lights, utilities, child care, medications, the necessities. We want to make sure those are covered. So you want to make sure that when you're setting your goals and you're checking to see if it is definitely realistic, that it's not going to cut into going without necessities. And it may be that you have to readjust. It may be that $50 a pay period is too much, but $25 is not enough. So you have to come up with an amount in between, or maybe as you go throughout the year, you have to adjust accordingly. But again, that's where you have to find out what's realistically going to be affordable for you to do on an ongoing basis that would be easy to stick to. And sometimes even doing that automatically helps. I had to trick myself into saving by having it go into a completely different bank to actually get me to save. And it worked. It worked for me. Timely. So we know we want to save the $1,000, so that's our specific. Measuring, I know that I can put aside this amount of money per pay period. So now, as far as being attainable and realistic, we already see that we're able to do that. So timely is going to be, if I follow all of these steps, set this amount aside each pay period, by what date should I have that $1,000 saved? And so that is your timely. That is going to be your time, putting a time stamp on it, putting a due date on something, so that you have something that you are shooting for. And again, you may have to adjust throughout the year, but that means you're checking in, you're tracking, you're seeing where you're at, you're acknowledging, and you're being accountable for what your goals are. So how do you achieve some of these financial goals? Write them down. Studies show that written goals are usually going to be more likely accomplished than if they're not written down. That's why a lot of times you hear the importance of vision boards, having words of affirmation on a refrigerator or on a mirror, in your bathroom or bedroom. I I've even seen people that will put little sticky notes on their car dash, wherever it is that you can get some daily inspiration to remind you of what your goals are, what it is that you're trying to achieve. And a vision board is a great way to do that. And that's merely just getting some type of paper, cutting out and creating what your vision looks like and putting that to paper. And there's even apps for that now. You can even do an electronic vision board. So just go to your Google or Apple stores to see what free or low cost apps may be available to actually do an electronic vision board. Break your goals down. Sometimes when we look at the big picture, it's so overwhelming we don't see that we can actually attain that. So we got to break it down. And so even when you talk about trying to save an extra amount of money per year, that's why we want to break it down monthly. Well, maybe even that we need to break it down every pay period. So depending on when you get paid, that may be the best way for you to set up your goal. It may be that you have to do it every pay period versus trying to figure out how you're going to do it monthly. You may have to break it down into each pay period. Starting with maybe the smaller steps or the smaller goals, so that with smaller time frames, so that you're achieving those and you're seeing some short-term successes to kind of give yourself a boost. Especially if you're paying down debt, sometimes we may suggest that if you pay down the smallest balance first, then you've got one out of your list that you can check off and say it's done. Others want to be able to pay off the highest interest first. But depending on what your list of financial goals may look like, and what's going to work for you and what's going to make you feel like you are accomplishing those goals, you may need to set up how you're going to achieve those goals differently than someone else does. Tracking your progress. So before, when I mentioned, I'm going to save this amount of money per pay period, I know that by X date I should be able to have this extra $1,000 saved. But somewhere in that next 12 months or so, something unexpected may happen. You may get a flat tire. You may need a carburetor or some kind of car part that I have no idea what you use for. Something, that always comes up that's unexpected. A check engine light. I had my check engine light come on the other day and I freaked out because I had just spent money on getting my van fixed. Check engine light came on. Ended up being the gas cap wasn't on right. Thank God it was an easy fix. But something will always inevitably comes up. And even if you had to pay someone to diagnose an issue that ended up being a very easy fix, a lot of times places still charge you a diagnostic fee. So you may have to dip into some of those goal money. So how are you going to revamp that the next month? Where can you pick up the extra to try and still stay on track or stay on target for whatever your goal may be? You may have to adjust it accordingly throughout the year. Accountability. I know that a lot of people, we don't like to talk about money to people. It's already a very touchy subject, especially going through such a hard time right now. But there's got to be somebody, hopefully, that you can trust, or someone that you want to shadow or manage money like they do. Someone that can, even a friend or a coworker. Hey, make sure that I don't go out to, lunch every day, or check in with me and see how I'm doing for my savings goal every month. Have a money buddy, somebody that you can kind of just check in with. You don't have to give them all your financial details and, how much you make and all of that. Hey, Deborah, I'm trying to save $100 a month, $50 a pay period. Check in with me in a couple of months, or I'm going to check in with you. Whatever it is that will work to have some accountability. Making a checklist so that each time you have made that deposit or that savings payment, you're checking it off, because you can visually then see that you are accomplishing that progress that you have set up for the year for that goal. I heard a financial educator say that, and this has stuck with me ever since I heard her say it, that the longest relationship you will ever have will be with money. So if you think about that, even from youth, from childhood, we start learning our relationship with money based on how we see it being used by others, by people in our family, how we start using it, or how we're taught to start using it, or saving it, or spending it. as kids with, birthday gifts, Christmas cards, Christmas gifts, things of that nature. And then when you start with your first job, whether you're babysitting or cutting the grass, we start creating and evolving our relationship with money at a very early age. And a lot of times, it may take us a while, especially, with maturity and experience, to kind of get it. I don't know if financial management is a life skill that you master. I think it's something that is ongoing, and that it definitely changes and it ebbs and flows as your life cycles and life stages change and progress throughout life. But that is so true, because regardless of how much you make, where you make it, young, old, a lot or a little, you have to always be able to manage your finances from here on out until retirement, until the end, even planning for end of life. So you will definitely do yourself a great favor in starting now, if you haven't already, in getting a good handle on spending, tracking, saving, financial goals, setting goals, achieving goals, set a new goal, repeat. Probably the second episode of Monday Money Matters back in October, I talked about tracking. I hope a lot of you that watch this are still doing that. It can be very eye-opening, and that is the best place to start in determining how you are going to achieve some of your financial goals. If you are a little stuck or maybe not quite sure how to go about starting or creating or setting up a budget, call and schedule an appointment with one of our counselors. That's what we do. We will go through a very comprehensive list of expenses, whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, whether it's fixed, whether it's variable, to go into all different aspects of expenses that one may possibly come upon in a year's time or in a lifetime, and try and really put together a comprehensive budget so that you can really see on paper what it looks like. It can be, that right there can be enough in itself just to get you on the right path to your next steps of reaching your financial goals. So Financial Pathways of the Piedmont, you can call us at 336-896-1191. You can also email us, info@financialpaths.org. Or you can now go to our website, which is www.financialpaths.org, and click on Get Started. And that will actually let you complete an online intake form and information. The more comprehensive and more complete that it is, the more that we will have up front. And then that, when you submit it, it comes into our office, and then one of our counselors or our appointment scheduler will be able to contact you and set up an appointment with one of our counselors. So thank you again for joining me today on Monday Money Matters. I hope you all have a great day and happy financial goal setting. I'll see you next week. Have a good day.